I'm 70 years old now, sitting here with a cup of tea that's gone cold, thinking about a woman I used to be. She was 39. She thought she was modern, brave. She thought she understood something about love that everyone else was too scared to see. That woman was me, 31 years ago, and the choices I made back then cost me the only man who ever truly loved me. It took until now, with gray hair and too many empty evenings, to understand what I actually lost. Let me tell you what happened, not for sympathy, but because I see young women today making the same mistake, and it breaks my heart to watch. His name was Frank. We married in 1971, when I was 24 and he was 26. Quiet, solid, the kind who showed love through actions, not words. He fixed things before I noticed they were broken. Came home every night at the same time. Never made me feel small. We had 2 boys, Daniel and Christopher. Frank coached soccer, helped with homework, never missed a school play. The neighbors admired him. The boys adored him. And me? I took him for granted, like air, like a roof that never leaks. Here's what I understand painfully now. Comfort isn't weakness. Safety isn't boring. A man who shows up every single day isn't unremarkable. He's remarkable. I couldn't see it because I was too busy looking for something else. It was 1986. The world was changing. I'd read articles about open marriage, about couples who threw out the old rules. A book called Open Marriage had sold millions, sparked debates. The idea floated in the air like perfume you couldn't escape. I didn't know the authors later backed away from their own ideas. I didn't know most Americans still believed monogamy mattered. All I knew was that I felt restless, trapped, like I'd missed something by marrying young. That's the first lesson. Culture will sell you ideas, but culture won't be there at 3 a.m. when you're alone with the consequences. It started small. A man at work named Richard. Friendly. He looked at me like I was interesting, not just someone's mother. Coffee. Then lunch. Then conversations that lasted too long. He told me I deserved more, that real love shouldn't feel so quiet. I told myself it was harmless. The affair happened. Then another. Different men, same emptiness afterward. And instead of stopping, I convinced myself I was being honest. I told Frank I wanted an open marriage, used all the language I'd absorbed, told him monogamy was outdated. Here's the psychology. I'd lost my sense of self between motherhood and domesticity. Instead of rebuilding from within, I tried to find myself through other men's eyes. I confused attention with love, mistook excitement for happiness. Frank didn't fight. That wasn't his way. He just looked at me, not with acceptance, but assessment, watching, waiting, deciding who he would become in response to who I was becoming. He stayed, not because he agreed. He stayed for the boys. Daniel was 14, Christopher 11. Frank believed children needed both parents in the same house, so he endured. For 10 years, we lived in what I called an open marriage. I brought men into my time, my attention, trips, phone calls I hid, coming home late, calling it personal growth. And Frank, he just kept showing up, made breakfast for the boys, attended parent-teacher conferences alone, fixed things that broke, existed in the background of my chaos, like a tree that doesn't notice the wind. I mistook his quiet for weakness, thought because he didn't rage, didn't give ultimatums, he must not care deeply. I was so wrong. His quiet wasn't weakness, it was dignity. He was waiting for me to remember who I was. I never did, not until it was too late. Her name was Kathy. Frank met her at a bookstore, a widow, 2 years alone, with eyes that looked at him like he was the answer to a question. I didn't notice at first, but gradually, he wasn't just enduring anymore. He was alive, hummed while making coffee, came home with books she'd recommended. The night he told me he was filing for divorce, I laughed. After all these years, after everything I did, now you're leaving? He looked at me with those steady eyes and said something I've never forgotten. I wasn't waiting for you to change, Eleanor. I was waiting for me to stop caring. Last month, I realized I already had. That was the moment. The floor dropped out. I spent 10 years taking his presence for granted, never once considering that presence could leave. Daniel was 24, Christopher 21, adults. They chose their father. Daniel said, "Mom, I love you. But I watched you treat Dad like furniture for a decade. I can't unsee that." Christopher just stopped calling, then stopped visiting, became someone I only saw at holidays. I tried to explain. Freedom, my journey. They didn't want to hear it. They watched their father cook their meals, attend their games, hold everything together while I chased something I couldn't name. They knew who held them together. It wasn't me. I live alone now. Frank married Kathy. I see photos sometimes. Their grandchildren, their garden, matching rocking chairs on a porch in Vermont. He looks peaceful, the way a man looks when he's exactly where he belongs. Me? I've had years to think. Here's what I've learned. First, love isn't negotiation. I thought Frank staying meant he accepted my choices. It didn't. He was sacrificing his peace for his children. I confused sacrifice with permission. Second, you can't build yourself by tearing someone down. Every affair, every justification. I told myself I was growing while Frank shrank. Growth that hurts others isn't growth. It's damage with a fancy name. Third, quiet men feel deeply. Just because someone doesn't shout doesn't mean they don't hurt. Frank felt everything. He just had dignity not to perform his pain for my entertainment. Fourth, children see everything. You think they miss the tension, the absences? They know. And they grow up and choose. Be sure which side they'll choose. Fifth, freedom isn't absence of commitment. It's presence of peace. I thought I was free with no restrictions. I was restless, anxious, chasing validation. Frank, in his quiet constancy, was freer than me. He knew who he was. I was still looking for someone to tell me. If I could sit across from that restless woman in 1986. Stop looking for yourself in other men's eyes. You won't find you there. You'll find a version that performs for approval, that mistakes hunger for love. Look at Frank. Really look. See how he holds your children, how he shows up without being asked, how he loves you, not the idea of you, but you with all your mess. That's not boring. That's bedrock. Wanting more doesn't make you deep. Sometimes wanting more just means not appreciating what you have. The most revolutionary act could be staying, choosing, being present for the life that's already here instead of chasing one that isn't. Because one day you'll be 70 alone and realize Frank wasn't keeping you small. You were, and he didn't leave first. You did. Years before those papers you left. You just kept coming back to use the address. I'm 70 now, maybe 10 good years left. Quiet mornings, evenings that belong to no one but me. I don't tell this story for sympathy. I tell it because somewhere right now, a woman in her 40s is telling herself the same lies. That her marriage is too small, that her husband doesn't understand, that freedom means open doors and no limits. If that's you, ask yourself one question. When you're 70, sitting alone, what will you wish you'd done differently? For me, the answer is simple. I wish I'd stayed present, stayed grateful, stayed awake to the extraordinary gift of a man who loved me without conditions. Frank deserved better. The tragedy isn't that I lost him, it's that I never truly knew him. Not until it was too late. Don't wait until you're 70 to learn that lesson. Learn it now, before you spend another year chasing shadows and calling it light. The door you're thinking of opening, sometimes the only thing on the other side is the sound of it closing behind you. I want to thank this channel for letting me share my voice. If these stories help you, please consider subscribing. It costs nothing, but it helps these lessons reach the people who need them most.